Well, hey there, you're on the internet, I have too much free time, and welcome to the Triple N Network, where all you newbie nib nerds can find all the news you'll need. Let's look at ink today, shall we? Today's ink is by Noodler's Lexington Gray, which, as you can see, is a very gray. It's not a light black, it's a genuine gray, which I like. I don't like those grays that are really just weak sauce black inks. And this one has some interesting qualities, as it says on the bottle. Bulletproof on cellulose paper, washes off plastic with tap water, made in the USA, UV light proof, pH neutral, and water-based. And it usually lives in this Pilot Parallel 1.5 millimeter stub, or I guess technically it's a calligraphy nib. But I use it to address envelopes because the waterproof properties are very impressive, and I kind of like the unusualness of addressing an envelope in gray. So let's check out the chromatography. As you can see, the water resistance actually is very obvious in this chromographic test. The drop of ink was put down there, and not much of it moved. And interestingly, what did move was this very pale blue, you might be able to see right there, which was unexpected. I did not expect there to be such a light blue in such a rich gray ink. So let's check out the paper tests. Starting from the top down, Clairefontaine 90 grams per square meter. As you might be able to tell, the top portion is much lighter than the lower portion, and that's because I started to run out of ink. Because yes, I really do use this ink, and I really do use it in this pen. And usually it is this more rich gray that you see down at the bottom. This lighter gray is sort of what it looks like after you start to run out of it, like I did. Which I should have been able to tell was happening if you look at those 5 little strokes. But anyways, as you can see, fantastic water test. I should be fully honest, I wrote this before I wrote this middle section. I wrote it down there to make sure I'd have room for the water test. So this, looking exactly like this, is because there was no change. It's not like it used to look like this and then turned into this. It has fantastic water-resistant properties. It's a gorgeous gray ink. It's very well behaved, has fantastic flow, and some of the best water resistance I've seen in non-black ink. So here's Rhodia, 80 grams per square meter. Here I felt like it was flowing so wet on this slick paper that the shading didn't really come through, but it is this great rich gray ink, which I hope you'll be able to see. But yeah, 3 seconds to dry. Really not bad. Very fast drying ink. And I don't think it's labeled as a fast dry ink. It just dried very quickly on this paper for this test. I was very impressed. Water test, again, fantastic. Did not dye the paper around it, didn't feather, no bleed. Wasn't any bleed with the Clairefontaine either. Next is Tomoe River, where you got this great slate color. It was such a beautiful gray ink. However, there was a slightly longer dry time. Went from 3 seconds to 18 seconds, but this is Tomoe River. And I think whatever makes this washable on plastic, now this is just a theory on my part, whatever makes this washable on plastic I think might have been partly why it took so long to dry on this paper. But yeah, great water test, fantastic color, great shading, wonderful gray. Next is 20-pound copy paper. 5 seconds to dry, so it did take longer than the Rhodia, but again, hopefully you'll be able to see some of the shading that came through, because I feel like it came through really well on this paper. But yeah, anyways, I said there was odd near spread in areas, but yeah, it's really where it was wettest, like at the top of the W or at the top of the O in pools. But yeah, no bleed. I said there was some show through, but I think that's just because it's a, you know, dark ink. Fantastic water test. Fantastic. I mean, look at that. And look at that. There really isn't any difference. This is why I love using this to address envelopes. But next is Mead Notebook Paper, where it took 1.5 seconds to dry, so it's still drying fairly quickly. And yeah, I said spread, mad feathers, bleeds like whoa. Don't recommend the combination. It gave it this really weird woolen texture to the writing. It's kind of messy. I don't really like it. I tried to write in fine using the corner and the edge, and it still reacted very badly, so I feel like it probably won't do well on this paper. But again, look at that water test. Fantastic. Yeah. Bleed. But I mean, I use this for addressing envelopes and writing letters on you know, letter writing paper, not not Mead paper or Moleskine paper, where there was some extreme show through, and yes, that is show through. That's not bleed, as you can see, because the water test didn't render to the other side. But again, fantastic water test. I said there was feathering and spread, which there was. I mean, that's pretty messy. It's pretty bad. Took 5 seconds to dry, which I found to be a bit curious, but still, it's not an awful dry time, but considering how well it did on some papers, it was confusing. So, yeah, that's Lexington Gray. It has some interesting qualities, like its extreme, beautiful permanence. The fact that it can be erased off of plastic. I don't know how you would write on plastic using a water-based ink, but I don't know, maybe someday I'll give that a try. For your consideration from the Triple N Network, let me know what you think. Let me know any experiences you've had with this ink. Have you tried to write on plastic with it? And if you did, how did that go? I'd kind of like to hear about that. But anyways, if you like the video, give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more, then subscribe to the channel. And so long from the Triple N Network. Bye.